Let's go!
All right, let's start talking about ugly ass fighting games. The only way we're gonna do this is if we get some visual examples. We can't have a visual example for everything. I think we're gonna have to start going through this because this is a pretty comprehensive chunk of fighting games. So I'm just gonna start going through these lists and throwing stuff up. We don't need to talk about it yet. We just gotta throw it up and then we'll start having some conversations. Let's put up Cross Tekken. Base Street Fighter V was kind of ugly. Damn, Street Fighter catching strays. Tekken 1 could be considered pretty ugly. I'm gonna stand on this hill. Straight up, dude. This game looked like trash, even on N64. I was looking at this shit and I was like, when it came out and my friends were playing it, I'm like, why does it look like it's barely above Star Fox? It's got some charm to it in the same way that Star Fox is charming, but we'll discuss it, okay? I also think the first Mortal Kombat's pretty ugly looking. I'd argue the same for Mortal Kombat 4, pretty ugly looking. This we can talk about. CVS1, TVC, MVC, there is definitely a good conversation to be had here. I see a lot of Dragon Ball games in here, but not the ones I want. Dragon Ball GT looks like wet shit. Wild Ambition. If we're gonna put Wild Ambition up here, then we also have to put in Street Fighter EX games, and I don't think that's fair. I think they're just representative of the time. Dynasty Warriors? Nah, dude, that game was amazing looking. Didn't play great. Dynasty Warriors 1 was a fighting game on PlayStation, and that shit looked great. Is Def Jam Icon ugly? I think a little bit of Icon is kind of hard to look at. Yeah, because they add like music effects into the visuals of the game. Yeah, music becomes a part of the visuals of the game, mind you. And it makes it hard to look at. Yeah, we need a bigger list than this. Oh no, there's a bunch of ugly bitches down here. I'm arguing War Gods, and I just hate the way this game looks. Where is Killer Instinct? Killer Instinct ugly? Bitch? Oh, chat, what's the game where you turn somebody into a pile of shit? That was Tattoo Assassins? Oh, this game. This shit is offensive looking. Dude, just gander what we're looking at here. Just from stills. Like, from here to here? Is this the game with the fire crotch guy? Is this the game where you turn people into a pile of shit? Wow. Offensive and ugly. This one might take the cake, bro. Chat, I just chose to unpause the game at some random moment in this video, and that's what happened. Could you imagine what else happened if we kept watching? Chat, this is fighting game slop, right? This was the era of fighting game slop, where anybody and their mother saw Mortal Kombat or... Damn. I think I just came up with a name for a new series. Fighting slop. Kasumi Ninja. I've played this. Is Kasumi Ninja with the guy that has the fire crotch?
Show no mercy.
This is the fire crotch guy. All right, I'm putting Kasumi Ninja up there. These are some ugly fuckers, okay? These are the ones that we initially have proposed as being butt-ugly ass games. Some are ugly, but which ones are butt-ugly? That is the question. We need to start going through these with a fine-tooth comb and having a better understanding of like what is truly like disgusting and ugly. Which one is offensive to our eyes and which ones are just kind of like not as good looking, right? I think the context is also important. Context of the situation can make something uglier than it actually is. Expectations not living up to expectation. Injustice 1. Without even saying much, I think it should stay up here. It's a pretty ugly ass looking fighting game, dude. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I think should also stay up here. It's arguably one of the ugliest visuals, ugliest art styles Capcom has ever made in a game ever. X-Men Next Dimension. Let's find out. Yeah, so this is like X-Men Mutant Academy. They're rough looking. They have funky art styles and visuals. But are they that bad looking? Nah. They're just like completely average ass looking games at the time. I don't think that's too bad. I think that's worth a pass. So I am taking off X-Men Next Dimension. Let's remove that. King of Fighters Maximum Impact. Yeah, like this is comparable to Street Fighter EX games. They're ugly, don't get me wrong. Especially, yeah, but it's not like that bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've seen some true ugly shit. It's just rough. If we were to put this up here, we'd put up EX3 and like the original EX games. I'm officially taking it off. KOF 14 though. KOF 14 came off of the heels of KOF 13. One of the best looking fighting games. Is it that bad looking? Not really. It ended up getting a visual upgrade. I think, yeah, it's comparable. Like, it no shit is comparable to, like, the visual quality of some PS2 games. But some PS2 games can hold up. I think it's the fact that what it came from was something that was genuinely very, very good looking to look like this. The animations look nice. The effects look okay. It just has kind of an ugly art style and ugly character design. You know what it looks like? It looks fine. This is the example I was using before, where something held in comparison to itself can make it look really bad. And yeah, KOF 13 was really good, so what happens when you get something that looks visually mediocre in comparison? You get, it's the worst looking game ever. Now when I look at it, yeah, it looks rough. It does not necessarily look good. Compared to some of the shit that's up here, I think there is significantly uglier shit. I think there's significantly uglier shit, which makes me think that even MVCI and Jump Force might get taken off at some point. The same thing for Virtua Fighter. Virtua Fighter is kind of an ugly game, but it's ugly but charming, and it's also one of the first 3D games ever, so nah, yeah, I get it. I didn't like the way it looked before either, but it's actually grown on me over time. Now I find it kind of charming. I don't think the same can be said as Sonic Fighters. Sonic Fighters is like a rough-looking 3D game. Let me show you what it looks like. Sonic Fighters. You all know what VF looks like. It just is like very polygonal. Like, it's just kind of rough looking, man. In the time, it's kind of just the way Sonic looks, but I think in the same way that VF1 was a charming game, I see this game and this game like this in Virtua Fighter Kids. I think these games have their charm now, right? They're ugly as shit. But I think in a certain way, they have an early era 3D charm where I've seen early era 3D games, dude. Like, they are ugly. They get real ugly. So I'm gonna take it off. I'm gonna take it off. Samurai Shodown Sen. Wow. Is that how the game really looks? Oh my god, it's gritty brown. Holy shit. It's literally gritty brown the game. You know what actually executed this art style in a way where I think it's like effective and it still works even though it's not great looking? I think MKX was the only game to do this visual style okay. Where it's trying to be like edgy and dark and moody and brown. But MKX does it in a way that is like, yeah, it's not the best looking, but it holds its style well. This shit looks bad. What about a bright stage? Oh my god, it's not even bright. Dude, I'm gonna keep this up here. This is actually offensive to the eyes. Bro, Def Jam went from that to this? Here's the crazy problem. It looks very expensive, but it also looks like ugly as shit. It has okay visuals with a really ugly art style. What the hell, dude? That was a choice. This sort of like super goofy video gamey stuff combined with very realistic looking characters is not it, bro. How ugly is Way of the Warrior? See, this makes me want to be softer on Pit Fighter. This is pretty ugly. Dong Dong Never Die is charming. Yeah, well, if you want an idea of like what is a bad looking fighter like this, that is actually kind of charming, that's Dong Dong Never Die. In terms of these digitized graphics games, like Dong Dong Never Die is the example of it actually looking good. And not looking particularly good, but being charming because of how bad it knows it looks, right? It's like aware that it does not look good, so it uses that to do some really fun shit with it. While these games feel like they were trying to be like sort of cool and edgy, so because of the attempt to try to be cool and edgy, it just comes across as being very rough. You know what? I'm gonna give Balls a break. I'm taking Balls off. You know exactly what you're getting into, dude. Okay? You bought a game that is called Balls with a Z, and it literally has this on it. If you went into it and it looked like this, then you would be proper pissed off. I'd be pissed off. If it was like, hey, this is Balls 3D. Damn, that game looks amazing, and you get in and it don't look like that. It looks like Balls. I'm kind of okay with Balls 3D not getting the consideration because it's rough looking, but it also is like actually doing 3D environment. It isn't like offensive to me. There's these ball-ass ball characters. It's stupid. I'm taking Balls 3D, I'm taking out. I think there's other more offensive games to the eyes. War Gods is staying up here. Dino Rex is staying up here. Killing Zone, does this deserve it? Dude, chat, are the people that made Criticom the same people that made this? I have a question. That shit is pretty ugly, dude. Killing Zone and Criticom, I think, are so ugly that they both have to be here. I think they're really ugly, but they're comparatively similar levels of ugly. It's rough looking, but it's also like, it's more jank than it is ugly, you know? X-Men Next Dimension, we just looked at it. It's like the same thing comparatively, dude. They're jank looking, but it doesn't mean it's like necessarily ugly. You know what this looks like to me? It looks like the wrestling game. You know, like remember the WCW wrestling game that was also digitized? That was made by Midway? It looks like that. Pit Fighter SNES, all right. I'm not gonna put it up here because we're putting up the best versions, okay? So let me see what you're talking about with the SNES version. It's literally 2 colors away from being a Game Boy game. I won't put the SNES version up there. I think that's unfair. Like specific versions of the game, only that version is that ugly? Nah. I'm gonna take Pit Fighter off. I think that's just a little early, you know? That would be like us putting Street Fighter 1 up here. It's a little unfair. Oh my god, the constant return to neutral. This was nice for the time it was released. No, I don't think that's true. Am I offended by anything else? And yeah, I think there's more offensive games. In terms of that PlayStation 1 era jank-ass 3D game, we have a couple of really good ones right here in War Gods. I'm gonna take it out. Time Killers was horribly offensive. Avengers and Galactus Storm, we know, we just played it. Street Fighter 2 HD Remix, so this was recommended, and I understand why. I don't mind the visuals of HD Remix that much, I don't. In fact, I see how much of an astronomical effort it took. But at the same point, I personally feel that, yeah, the feel of the game was a lot different. And I understand why folks would say that HD Remix is quote-unquote ugly. The biggest difference is that, like, it was made by graphic artists and not as much animators. I think there's jank, you know, in between. It looks like a Flash game. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but here's the thing. Flash games can look fucking amazing. It also looks like it has specific, like, proportions get a little weird. Like it's like they weren't looking at the frames that came before because they were graphic designer illustrators and not as much animators. So I don't think it's necessarily ugly. It's a product of what it was. Like, you're having to make like 1,000 frames of animation, 1,000 plus, I think. Because of that, it just doesn't all connect. And the game was like a nightmare. Granted, the game is made by comic book artists, okay, and they're very good. But the game was made in weird segregation because it got canceled at one point and then it came back because it was costing way too much money. Like, it looks ugly, but does it look all-time ugly? I think that's a little unfair. Tattooed Assassins, I think, is one of the best looking games I've ever seen. And I don't know why the chat wants it to be up here. I think that's kind of mean, but you know, if the chat wants it, I'm going to keep it up here. Street Fighter Cross Tekken. it's almost just like a little unfair to say that SFXT is that ugly of a game. Granted, I really hate the visuals of Street Fighter Cross Tekken. It's just Street Fighter 4, but uglier. And I think that comparison is what does it for me personally. It's got cool animations and stuff. To me, like visually, it was an uglier Street Fighter 4, and Street Fighter 4 could also be considered to be quote unquote ugly. But even so, it's like, it's got a weird art style, but is it fair to hold this in comparison to some of the other uglier games? Like, nah. It felt like kind of a downgrade from Street Fighter 4. I agree. I'm taking it off. I'm taking it off. What is the best example of Street Fighter V looking bad? I remember being excited that Ken was back, and I'm like, why does he look so weird? He doesn't really look like that. And then you get the Alex trailer, you know, and damn, bro. This was a game where they chose the characters to look this way. But something about, like, these are minor nitpicks, you know? This is because we hold Street Fighter to a ridiculously high standard. And when it doesn't meet that standard, once again, it's sort of disappointing, you know? It's disappointing that you have characters like Abigail looking as offensive as they do in a Street Fighter game. So, by definition, is it better than 99% of the fighting games that are out there? It is. But because those little nitpicks I have of the way some characters look, like Cody and his animations and stuff like that, Sakura looks a little weird in her animations, but is it like bad looking? Nah. It's ugly, but it's not all-time gross. It's not all-time gross. I'm gonna be honest, it was always ugly. Even from back in the day, like, I bought Tekken 1 for $10 and I felt like I got ripped off. And that was when games didn't get that cheap. It's rough looking, but it also has cool ass dynamic camera angles. It also has textured polygons. One of the first games to have textured polygons. It's super ugly, but it's also like extremely early. If you released polygonal versions of like Kazuya that looked like this, and they released it in Tekken 8, guess what that would be now? Charming and funny. So I think Tekken 1, as despicable as it looked at the time, was kind of rough looking comparison. Most folks' perspective was that Tekken was okay, but Virtua Fighter was way better until Tekken 3. So a lot of people went back to Tekken 2 and Tekken 1. Not everybody, but a lot did. And were like, oh, Tekken 2 and Tekken 1 look rough. Compared to Tekken 3, of course they do. But still, at the time when they came out, they're good looking. So anyway, I think it's in that same spot where it's like, if we're putting that up there, we should be putting Street Fighter 1 up there, and I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's personally fair to Tekken 1. I think the same is going to be said about Mortal Kombat 1. We know what MK1 looks like. I think it was always kind of a rough-looking game, but it was pioneering visually. Mortal Kombat 4, I think, is a very rough-looking 3D game, but is it like, is this shit offensive to my eyes in the same way that some other early 3D era games are, like War Gods and shit? No, it's not. Smash Brothers 1, let's talk about it. I think Smash 1 is really rough looking, dude. And even when it came out, I'm like, why does this look so bad? Even when it first came out, why does it look like so polygonal? Like the characters look close to a Star Fox game, you know? Like 3D N64 games did not look like this, man. And those were like big games like Mario and stuff like that that were actually large scale. And I think it was because 4 players, the limitations and all that kind of stuff. The backgrounds are so crazy basic. I think what I was disappointed because so many other 3D fighting games at the time looked the way they did. And now this comes across the same way that Tekken 1 and Virtua Fighter 1 come across, where they're rough looking, but I think they're charming now. By the time this game came out, okay, we were playing video games that looked like this. Like, Smash Brothers came out, and I was playing games in my house that looked like this. And it was like, holy fuck. Like, that's the kind of downgrade we were talking about in comparison. Dreamcast was a significantly better machine than the N64. Don't get me wrong. The comparative of how things were evolving, dude, even Tekken 3 existed for years before that. Virtua Fighter 2, like, all I'm saying is that these came out around the same time. And I was playing this on Saturn for 5 years on hardware that was significantly worse than an N64. And Virtua Fighter was looking this way. Like, my dude, Smash Brothers, all I'm arguing is that Smash Brothers was rough looking. It was always relatively rough looking. Saturn could not do what N64 was a much more powerful system than a Saturn. Saturn was mostly doing 2D. Don't convince me to leave it on here. What I'm trying to do is to give my perspective from the 90s a point of perspective that now I think Smash is more charming than it is ugly. Don't make me argue to keep this shit in here, because I will. I am not afraid of Smash friends. You all don't have a game right now. I think it is ugly, but I think it's also charming. I think Star Fox on SNES was also mad ugly when it came out, but guess what? I like it. I actually like Star Fox, and I like its rough-ass visuals on SNES. I think it's got a little bit of charm because of the limitations. So that being said, I'm taking it off. Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. It's ugly. You know what? I'm gonna have a crazy hot take here. It's really ugly, don't get me wrong. It ain't pretty, but it's also not that bad looking. It's rough looking. I'd argue that there is another DC associated Netherrealm Studios game that I think looks uglier. Actually uglier than that. I think it's the fact that the Injustice 1 art style is actually worse. No kidding. I think the character designs are worse than this, but the entirety of this game is gross looking, dude. I'm taking it off. I'm taking it off for the argument that Injustice 1 stays. So, how many games do we have left? We're sort of like whittling this list down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, we have 14 games up here still. In the defense of Jump Force, at times that game looked good enough in trailer to get you to buy it. Game sold like 7 million copies, chat. It's rough looking. It's got the stupid, terrible realism anime art style that it just sucks and should not be in anything anymore ever. For some reason, we're gonna give complete anime characters realistic shaders and lighting and textures. Goku has face pores and shit, dude. It just looks like the most Unreal Engine 4 game of your life. But I'm only slightly offended. I can see how this could look cool to some people. Is it as bad as Criticom, Dino Rex, and No. Does it look better than Avengers and Galactic Storm? Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna take Jump Force out. You get a pass. But NVCI is arguably one of the worst art styles. Just the choice to make the game look this way, it has a similar to Jump Force ass looking art style, okay?
All teams, engage.
So like every character just looks weird and goofy and awkwardly hyper real. Where's the Chun-Li face? No, this is the fixed one.
No, I said insane.
Like Chun's face was so bad. They added this scene here because her face used to look like this, dude. Like she was insane looking. Like no one gave a shit. Someone burned off the majority of her eyebrows. Like that's the biggest thing that makes MVCI truly ugly, is that you have some of the best characters and the best properties to your disposal. And Captain America looks like a fucking bug. What is happening, dude? Why does he look like a bug? What are we doing here? Some parts of the game look better than others, don't get me wrong, but it was like, it was just gross. I feel like the art style of the game is just gross. Is it the worst thing ever? I don't think it's the worst. I think it's because of, once again, this is one of those games where the standard and the pedigree of which it comes from has an impact on this. Because, dude, the Marvel vs. Capcom games are some of the best looking fighting games ever. From just like a raw visual standpoint. Every tag team game we have now just copies it. But is it the worst of the worst? I don't think so. I think the characters are bad looking, but in gameplay, the game is fun enough where it's like you can pass up on the visuals and still enjoy it. It's just the most nothing burger of a looking game you've ever seen. And that should not be the feeling that you get from Marvel vs. Capcom. It should not. That's why it's so offensive. I'm taking it off, is all I'll say. I think it's ugly looking. It's gross to me, but it's also like, some people prefer the way that game looks. Let's look at War Gods.
wins.
This is pretty bad. It's just everything about this. This makes Mortal Kombat 4 look like a Capcom game. This makes MK4 look like Tekken 3. And MK4 was already like one of the ugliest looking MKs.
Wins.
Dude, let's just make MK4 but awful. It makes Mortal Kombat 4 look like Schindler's List. But not the list itself, the movie.
Wins.
Jesus Christ. I don't think it's going to get the most ugly. I just think it's going to be, it's a top 10. For me personally, it looks bad and it plays bad. No, I know it also plays terribly. Let's see. What else have we not recently seen? We saw Kasumi Ninja. Ugly. Tattoo Assassins, ugly. Time Killers was ugly. Criticom. You guys don't remember Criticom. Matt McMuscles told me to play this. Like the piece of shit he is. Told me to play Criticom. It had like a 40-minute intro. And then this game looked like this. Sin. Oh my God. Hey man, would you... Get up! I mean, maybe because the gameplay was so bad, it's like extra jank. The music's good though. Tell me when you're ready. Tell me when you're ready. Ow, my dick. I kind of like it. We got to get rid of 2 games. I think Samurai Shodown Sen goes. It's ugly, but some of these other games are much uglier. Injustice.
And if you don't, first of all, Flash. Secondly, Honeybee. He has his own specific Flash move stuff, and you found that out.
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, I felt really confident in his Flash.
MKX is ugly.
Tournament, and then we were doing fine, but his setups.
But Injustice 1.
Yeah, I think
Injustice 1 is arguably the grayest, grossest looking game.
I agree.
It also did this thing when the characters got beat up, they would be missing pieces of their body and shit. Because I played Batgirl, so there'd be a giant chunk of her chest, like scratched out and missing. Like there'd be the characters would look gross at the end of fights and shit. I see the effort. That's the problem. I think Def Jam Icon is worse looking, dude. I'll be real. I think it's up there, but I don't think it scratches top 10 in comparison to these other games that are legit ugly as shit. I feel like it would be just me clickbaiting. It feels like a very easy clickbait for there to be a top 10 fighting game list and for me to include Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, Street Fighter V, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and like Injustice 1. And like MK versus DC. As we have investigated games that are actually butt ugly. Jump Force, yeah. Let's just put Jump Force in for the ugliest fighting game. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put them all in the thumb. I'm telling you, I'm gonna do it right now. Makes for a good thumbnail. The ugliest fighting games. Picture of PS1 looking Andy from KOF 15. Picture of Chun-Li's goofy ass face from NPCI. Alex's yeah, dude, let's go. I'm gonna make that the thumbnail. That's what I'm gonna do. And then the list is gonna be games that are actually trash ass ugly. But ugly. We're gonna have Filipino Ken on there. Who is this guy? Y'all want to see some really ugly games? We're taking Injustice 1 off. All right. What goes where? Top 10 ugliest fighting games. Let's go. I think number 10 is Def Jam Icon. And it's a gross looking game. Yeah, this has the art style of Injustice. I'm just going to say it. And I think it's uglier. I think what they do with the stages is actually like mad distracting. Having dudes do the most like basic ass moves with each other, like just the overall design of the game is like, what are we doing? It's like it wants to be like the previous Def Jam, but also wants to be nothing like it. It lacks cohesion, is what it does. It's the split second, if it was bad, of fighting games. I think that's the way of putting it. We want our fighting game to have a crazy ass gimmick, just like the way Split Second had a crazy ass gimmick, but the gimmick's not good in any way. And we're just gonna make the entire game look like shit in the same process. Dude, how long are you fighting here? My God, how long do fights last? Oh my God, look at your beautiful house. Hold on, look at your beautiful house. Check this out. That's crazy. Your beautiful mid-2000s house. I think War Gods goes next. It's like weirdly digitized, but not. It's like they were trying to get something in between digitized looking characters, so they have like, it looks like digitized textures, but then weirdly ass low poly video gamey as F looking dudes. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that is defining what my top 10 is like, is this game kind of offensive to the eyes? Is it truly ugly and offensive? Yes. No, I truly think that this is...
Kabuki Joe wins.
I ain't even from where Kabuki Joe is from, but I'll be offended for you guys, don't worry. War Gods goes next. What goes after that? How ugly is Dino Rex? Oh, dude. This is fighting slop. This is... Bro, this is true fighting slop. Holy shit. It sounds offensive. I think I need to play this. I think I've played it in passing every once in a while. But, like, we need opportunities for me to truly sit down and play this slop. Nah, dude, this shit sucks. I think other games look worse in this list, but I think this shit is gross looking. It's rough, dude. Number 10, nah. What is next? Let me look at Time Killers again. Wow, that background is crazy. So my only argument with this is that I find it to be a little tasteless. It's like we're gonna have something that's like horribly violent, but also kind of tasteless because of the visuals. Like, it isn't terrible, it's just weird. Like, to me, it's also the fact that, like, the artistry and effect here is very goofy. I think it's the color palette. Yeah, it looks extremely juvenile. I see the effort. Yeah, people had to animate this whole shit, but, like, for something being as juvenile as it is with its visuals and also animations and also characters and stuff, I can see how it feels trashy. Yeah, it's almost like its identity is to be trashy. I think Dino Rex looks worse, though. I'm gonna be honest. I think it looks worse than War Gods. All right, let's move on. Should we look at Kasumi Ninja or Way of the Warrior? Another game that's also trashy. The guy is a Scottish dude with a kilt that is wearing red hair, and he pulls up his skirt and a fireball comes out of his fire crotch. Like...
Show no mercy. Habaki wins.
Pikawa, my goat. That's crazy that they would have this constant tone in the background. We're not talking about the sound effects, but how in the hell do you have this constant wee? Listen to this fireball again. It sounds like someone just like ripping the crazy. I think someone ripped massive ass and they just recorded it. Is Kasumi Ninja as trashy as Killing Zone? Wow. This one's pretty rancid. What this one lacks in trash, it isn't like the Minotaur is pulling his pubes off and shoving them down your mouth. It isn't trashy in that way. But it's trashy in the fact that, like, no aspect of it looks good. Or is, like, well representative of the era in any way. And, like, its choice of characters and how they look. Everything looks so abysmal. Yeah. I honestly think that one's worse than Kasumi Ninja. I think Kasumi Ninja, you know what? It's very rough looking. You know what? Sentry! This is pretty terrible. It's like, what if we had Killer Instinct visuals with Marvel characters, but it's all bad? Here's the problem. I also don't hate it. Maybe it's because of the speed at which it's moving, but it's weird that I also don't hate it. Like, it is ugly as shit, dude. But I think it has like an awkward AF charm where they look like toys. That probably wasn't intentional. I'm not mad. Yeah, I think that is a good point. The hand. That's a good point. I'm not mad looking. I think we're gonna move this list a bit. I honestly feel that I'm gonna move every single thing up. And I'm gonna put, I think Avengers in Galactic Storm is just a rough looking, ugly game. Def Jam Icon, I think Def Jam Icon is like oppressive looking at times, where it's just like, I don't wanna look at this shit. In between of all of these ugly games, I think Avengers in the Galactic Storm is one of the ugliest goddamn Marvel fighting games ever. An ugly ass looking game even for the 90s, but it isn't really that oppressive. You know? Icon is disappointing. Yeah, it's a disappointing game on top of everything else. Yeah, I think this is right. Way of the Warrior. Here's the thing. It's just bad, but it's not that offensive. You know? It isn't completely tasteless. It's just rough. Like it kind of is. No. More offensive is like the dude from Scotland shooting fireballs out of his crotch. Gross. Like, game is also gross and offensive, you know, and bad looking. These two are very comparable. Way of the Warrior and Kasumi Ninja are very comparable. I think Way of the Warrior, at least by this comparison, is like a game that's trying to be cool. It thinks it knows what makes some fighting games sort of cool, but it also has no clue. Instead of others like trying very hard to be like edgy and goofy. Of these old digitized games, I think Way of the Warrior is the least like offensive to me. I think it's worse looking than Dino Rex. I'll say that, dude. Yeah, I think Killing Zone's a little bit better looking than Way of the Warrior. I'm gonna say that. Killing Zone was really rough looking. You think this is worse than this? No. No, I think this looks worse. This is gonna come down to taste. I personally feel that Killing Zone is a game that I'll play over Way of the Warrior. Wait. I think I mixed this up. Wait, hold on. I think I'm mixing up the order again. I'm cooking here. We didn't put this in its place. There we go. Kasumi Ninja, higher list, worse. I think Kasumi Ninja is actually worse than Way of the Warrior. There we go. Don't get mixed up. The way this top 10 is working is odd. So that leaves us with our last two games. Criticom, which we just checked out, and Tattoo Assassins. I need to see... This one's kind of sick, actually. I'm gonna say this fatality is sort of sick. Look at one of the first screens you see in the game. And it came to pass. Hold on. And it came to pass that Mullah Abba, spiritual leader of the Order of Colors, discovered the ancient secret of the mystic ink of Giz. The ink of Giz is an anamorphous fluid organism which can form into real objects for brief moments when applied to human bodies as tattoos. However, what the fuck? The ink is only compatible with those of certain unusual genetic makeup, those known as hosts. The ink can cause bizarre mutations in those who prove unsuitable. Among the color guard, only Koldan was a suitable host. Thus believing himself superior to all mankind, Koldan stole the secret of the ink. His goal is to create an army of mutants and enslave the human race. Mullah Abba commanded the 9 remaining color guards to find new hosts for the ink of Giz, one of whom might be powerful enough to defeat Koldan. 9 hosts were found. Each received magnificent chest and arm tattoos, plus a magical morph tattoo on their palm. The Tattoo Assassin! Wait, I clearly went back to hear what he said before he said not, and he didn't say anything. Look at the comments section. The fact that the screenwriter of Back to the Future directed and wrote this game is weird, scary, and spectacular. The devs were proud enough of the game to use precious memory to put their faces in the credits. Dude, I want to see you. Why is she biting? That is one hell of a screen to pause on. Wow. See, this game has the unique luxury of being ugly as shit and also the trashiest thing I might have ever seen in a game. It has the unique ability to be super trashy and insanely ugly. You actually think this beats Criticom? Dude, I was ready for Criticom to be number one. At the beginning of this list, I was ready for Criticom to take the first spot. Because just look at this shit, bro. And this isn't even, we're not even talking about how it plays. It plays so bad. This shit makes Rise of the Robots look like a Van Gogh painting. However, I feel like the extremely trashy nature of Tattoo Assassins, hold on a second. Max Dude 2020. Is our Tattoo Assassins moments in 2023 or 2024? It might have been on the Jaguar stream. Maybe it wasn't that long ago. It was on the Jaguar stream, yeah. Here on an Alien versus Predator. Let's do a game we definitely played. There it is. 3 years ago? No way this was that long. This is the game I was thinking of.
That, you know,
This is not Tattoo Assassins.
Read it!
What is this game? Yeah, what the hell is this game? Also ugly, but I think this game is Ultra Vortec. All right.
All right, then. There we go. Get ready.
Dude, the Jaguar stream was 3 years ago.
Whoa. Shit, bro. It's a pile of shit.
I don't know what I was expecting.
Right?
Bitch, the guy's name is Grok. That's crazy. And Grok just got turned into a pile of shit. That's crazy. I just realized what happened. Grok just got turned into a pile of shit. Confirmed.
It's a pile of shit. It's just shit. Wait a minute. Wait. Listen.
The way Steve says that. The way Steve says, I didn't hear him at the time. The way he says it's just shit. Like, why is that so funny to me? It's like he was expecting better of the pile of shit. Like, it's like I'm acknowledging it's a pile of shit. It is. But I'm disappointed. Like, anyway, that's not even the trashiest game. That game didn't even look that bad in comparison to some of this shit. I'm gonna call it here. God, I'm crying now, dude. Jesus, I could have swore that was Tattoo Assassins that we played on Jaguar. It wasn't. It was some other piece of shit game. It's shit. I'm gonna go with Criticom at number 2. I think Tattoo Assassins is the grossest looking game, dude. I think it just sucks to look at. It's now we reveal that technically Tattoo Assassins never got released. Yeah, there's arcade versions of it. It exists, but it's like saying Primal Rage 2 wouldn't count, even though it exists technically. Tattoo Assassins lost its category because it's marked as canceled. Oh, so that's why we can't find it under Twitch. You know what? I guess that makes sense why it actually makes it to the top, because it's so trashy. It makes sense why it never officially gets released, you know? Yeah, that's my final list. I think a lot of games did not make it up here, especially games that feel like they're extremely bad looking. But when you actually get down to the boilerplate of it, like what's actually really bad looking, even games like Jump Force don't make it up here, dude. But this is my personal top 10. Avengers in Galactic Storm is the 10th worst looking. Def Jam Icon number 9. War Gods 8. Time Killer 7. Dino Rex 6. Killing Zone 5. Way of the Warrior 4. Kasumi Ninja 3. Criticom 2 and Tattoo Assassins number 1. That's a good ass ugly fighting game list. That's a real one, you know? You can mix a few of these and probably come up to very similar results. Personally speaking, I think you can get very similar results here. You know what that means? I haven't played a lot of these games in a very long time. I'm inspired by fighting slop. I think we're gonna have to play some of these again.